Okay, so we're going to go through some of the mindset and an outline. We'll update this on our PowerPoint and then upload it to the Telegram thread with some notes in the slides. I don't know if we'll do that today, but it will be done. Um, I did leave the chat open, so if people have questions or if I ask questions, you can answer there. Because I would like today to be a little interactive. All right, so let's talk about fully qualifying the appointment. First step is always qualification. You have to do a good job of qualifying your appointments, all right? The more you know the person, the more credibility they have, and the more they're in our target market, the better the appointment's gonna be. Obviously, you want to stay in the 5-point market, married, kids, homeowner, 25 to 55, and an income. I know there's a lot of things going on. Okay. A lot of people, over the last year or year and a half, they don't have to work. People don't have to work. They don't have to, they're getting money from different sources. And so people have usually you want an income, a steady income, a working income, a business income. If people are getting money just to get money, but they feel like they have money, that's probably a red flag for your policy, right? And for them sticking with the program. Obviously, you want people with children, and when we say children, what do we mean? Young children, right? Many parents have, like, my parents. I'm 41. My older sister's older than me. My younger sister's a couple years younger than me. My parents have kids, but that doesn't really count. Like, I would be somebody that has kids. I have an 11-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 5-year-old, right? So you want to stay in that qualified market. Homeowner or live on their own is good. What else? Now with Zoom, and I'll call on some people here. Not call them, but people can post to the chat. I've been having a lot of trouble with setting up the Zooms properly, right? I'll do a Zoom appointment. People are in the car. People are on their phone. People are walking. People are doing things, and you're trying to train somebody. So if I'm trying to train Autry and I'm taking him out to see, Chandel and Mike, and not taking him out on Zoom, and Chandel and Mike are going for a jog, literally, like they're walking in the park, walking their dog, and say, oh, hey, something didn't get set up right. Right. I get it. They want to help. They thought the favor was maybe like a reference call, or, you just need to know that I'm a real person. I know Autry is not a bad person, and I'll verify for him. No, we're going to do a financial planning appointment. You need to be here for him to get credit. You can't be walking through the park. You can't be driving. You can't, so one thing that you have to say, and always remember this, if you set it up a little properly, and if you're a chicken about it, okay, which I was, then maybe you send an email after. You say, hey, I'm going to send an email with the requirements in order for Autry to get credit for this appointment, because he will be getting licensed with the state and we have to certify him. And then you send a little checklist. Hey, can you be on a tablet or a computer, or can you be at home? We'll take 30 minutes, but the initial part will take 30 minutes. But if you have more questions, I did that all the time. I'd send stuff to people to make sure, because I didn't want to get on a Zoom like what has been happening to me as of late, and they're not there. So it's a one-legged, they're in the car. If, some things I'm telling my trainees to do, because I've been encountering a lot of these problems, right? You guys know it. I talked about this recently. People can't hook up their audio, right? So you're sitting there trying to do like a Alexander Graham Bell talking through a cup, like, hey, let me run the wire to your house. Hey, can you hear me while you have the Zoom? It's just, it's nonsense, man. So I get it. Some people are very, they don't have high tech IQ. So you got to do that. You got to make sure, hey, let's run a dry run so you can get on, so you can connect your audio. You can type in the Zoom and the password, and you can get on, and I can see your face. You can turn your video on, stuff like that. It all sets it up for success. Because while Zoom is great, when we go to the kitchen table, we'd have to do stuff. We'd have to go to the right room. We'd have to try to say, hey, is there a time where maybe your kids are in bed? Or, back in the day, we used to say stuff like, hey, can you let the phones go to voicemail just for 30 minutes? It was rude and uncomfortable, but we did it because we wanted the best chance of success. If we were in that client's home and we drove out there, and this was our trainee's first appointment, we wanted our best chance of success. My daughter, she was for swimming. She's learning how to dive in the pool correctly. She's really good at it. And the coach is like, look, we want to get you to a point when you dive in that every time it's the exact same. You have the exact same routine every time you dive in. You go in, you put your both feet like this, then you put one foot back, then you lean over, and they're like, and every time you do the same thing, and if you do the same thing, you'll dive in the same way. You won't have good dives and bad dives because where she's at the level of competition that she's at, even for a 9-year-old, 1 or 2 seconds matter. It's important. You want to get to that point where you're setting that appointment up every time the same way. Now, every client is unique. So some people are different ages. They live in different areas. Their kids have different names. But the beginning, how you set it up, how you build rapport, and how you qualify that appointment has to be great. I always tell people, right? I was telling my trainee the other day, we're not bottom feeders, man. I understand you're asking your client for a favor, but we got to set it up right. Because if things go well, they're going to make a lot more money than we are. The client always wins a lot more than we do, even though we're asking for a favor, and that's our approach. They're getting protected. They're getting lots of the savings and investments. They're getting out of debt earlier. They're getting information and knowledge that's going to transform their financial situation. So we got to set it up right. So qualify. And if anybody can, wants to add anything on the chat of, that they've been doing. I know, Jen, I was asking you about this in one of our Monday morning meetings about dealing with clients in the screen and Zoom troubles, things of that nature, and how to ask your clients. If you want to, type something up there, show, if you do anything that I'm not saying, or anybody that has some experience with going on, several or multiple appointments where they're running into Zoom issues where it's a phone or the client is not in the right setting, you can type up that and we'll look and review it at the end of training. All right. So then when we get into it, we're going to always build rapport first. Again, I like to get started pretty quickly because if I'm too chatty in the beginning, it doesn't set the right tone for the appointment, right? Then you're just talking. I like to have my conversations and I like to build rapport throughout the presentation. If I want to say, yeah, like for example, part of my personal story and testimony when going through the appointment is I wanted to just learn about money. So when I go through a financial concept and say, yeah, one of the reasons that really excited me to get involved with the company is I knew I didn't really know a lot about money. So when I got involved, I learned a lot, like what I'm going to show you here, right? That's me dropping my personal story throughout the presentation. If I get in and I start 15, 20 minutes before I get into the presentation, and then I'm like, okay, let's get started. And they're like, let's get started, dude. What are you talking about, right? I got 10 more minutes, right? So I like to get into it right away. Tell a little bit, introduce, ask questions before I get right into it, but I'm pretty quick to get into the presentation. Why? I want to set the tone and I'm there for business. Okay, I am there to build rapport. I do want to get people to know me. Always remember, people do business with people that they like and trust, and you want to establish some commonality. Some of the questions I ask are, hey, what did Emmanuel tell you about our company? What did he tell you was going to happen tonight? Right. And I want to hear, because you learn a lot about what what they say, right? I've heard a lot of stuff. Oh, he said that, he's really excited, or he said that, I definitely don't have to buy anything or something. You might laugh it off, but everything is about information and getting that information, notating it either mentally or actually notating it, and then using that information later. Oh, he said that, we were going to learn a lot and he was really excited. Great, right? He said he needed a favor. And so you just learn how the appointments are set up, what the client's expectations are. Then we're gonna do our fit. Well, even before that, remember this: um, build relationships by asking people about their favorite subject, themselves, their children, their career, their path, their relationships. That is their favorite subject. Me, them, what they like, their interests, their hobbies. People like to talk about themselves. It's not an opportunity for you to just tell your story and how great you are. Okay. It's to ask them about themselves. People like to hear themselves talking and other people listening. Then we have our fintech intro, which is just basic, combination of financial services and technology. And then we go into the thank you and 3 outcomes. We're going to put people at ease and build the expectations of what's going to happen tonight or today or during this appointment. And then we always do the by the way, has anyone ever done any financial work for you before? By the way, has anyone ever done any financial work for you before? If most of the people are going to say no, or if they say yes, you say, oh, okay, do you have financial products or do you actually have a full plan? If they have a full plan, you might ask a few questions. Oh, how'd you meet the person that got involved? Or are you happy with it? When was the last time you talked to them? And then you'll get a little bit of information. Most of the people are going to say they do not have a financial plan. Then we're going to go through our triplicate. Okay, when responsible people like you, family people like you do not have any financial planning whatsoever, it's usually due to one of the following 3 reasons. 1, they didn't think they needed it. We don't need it. 2, they didn't think they could afford it. They heard financial planning is very expensive, or you have to have a lot of money. Or 3, they just never got around to it. They feel that they definitely need it, but classic case of life, kids, job, procrastination, and it's something that they wanted to do, was on their to-do list. Which one of those describes you? Didn't think you needed it, didn't think you could afford it, or just never got around to it? And hopefully they pick just never got around to it. If not, didn't think they could afford it. And even when people say they didn't think they could afford it, that's not the optimal answer. It's a good answer, right? Because we don't charge money, but it also shows some of their mentality. They may have a poor mentality there, because they feel like, it's a little bit of a helpless mentality, right? Like, we didn't have any money, so we just never thought about it, right? But we want the never got around to it. We want somebody to say that. And if they say they didn't need it, there might be a little confrontation right there. When I say confrontation, not like unhealthy confrontation, but you have to ask, I said, you might have to ask a few questions. Oh, why do you feel you don't need it? You think you're doing, great yourself, or what was it? And you want to ask a few questions right there to see where they're at with it. All right, then we're going to get into the company, the credibility, the things like that. We're going to paint a picture. Okay, that's what we do over the next few slides, is we're going to paint a picture. 1, and I want you to write this down. We are going to disturb the client. Okay, we're going to disturb the client by going through statistics, by showing them that they may not be prepared for financial tragedies or tragedies and how they might affect the family financially. That we're going to disturb them that maybe they don't have all the right information. We're going to disturb them that they don't have access to the right companies. We're going to disturb them that they do not have a person, a guide helping them financially. And that if they don't have access to the right companies, the right person, all the information, they could be wasting a lot of money, time, effort, energy, and a ton of worry. We're going to create an enemy. Okay, outside of disturbing, we're going to create an enemy. Financial companies do not have your best interest at heart. They're preying upon you with their business model, their fees, how they operate. Then we're going to show that we are a different type of company. How we were founded, how we operate, the people that we recruit, how we're different from other financial institutions. And then also we're going to talk about our credibility. Yeah, you might have just started, you might be part-time, but our company's been around a long time and we have millions, not thousands. I have thousands. Our team has thousands. But our company has millions and billions of life insurance in force and billions of money under management. And you should be confident in that. So one person and one company will help bridge that gap. And we have the technology, we have the tools. We're a high-tech company. We're also a high-touch company. So there's a lot of personal interaction, because the problem with high-tech companies is they have terrible customer service, right? We know that, like a lot of these companies, they're great. You can't talk to anybody. You can only email, right? I had a client call me yesterday. I talked to them for half an hour. When she hung up, she said, "Thank you. You've been great." It wasn't I'm great. She probably was excited to talk to somebody. And I said, "Hey, look, if you need me, call me, text me." And this was at, I don't know what time it was, 7 o'clock. She was calling me. We talked a half an hour. All right, then we go through the wheel and the different partnerships, the relationships, how the companies operate, what we expect from them, what the companies expect from us, and how they get a great financial plan for free with the best companies. Again, here, right, we are going to, the purpose of the Money GPS, okay, we are not presenting a solution until we create a need. That's what we're doing here. That's what this is. These next handful of slides before the financial house is creating a need. And again, disturbing them. Right? We're going to uncover spending habits, find out how much they waste. This is going to help us get a dollar commitment and close later, right? How much money do you waste on a daily basis? And like I said, you can uncover, hey, I don't waste anything. If a client says to me they don't waste anything, and they're believable in what they're saying, like, look, I have a spreadsheet, I pack my lunch every day, this and that. No, I know exactly how much, and I believe them, then guess what? I got to show lots of value. I got to show that this is going to go up over time, that their current insurance program is a lot more expensive than mine. It's going to go up later, that you're going to save money by going with me, going with this company. Because money's important. They have a high value on money. They have a good, healthy money consciousness. If they spend, they're frivolous, then I got to show them that, you have to rearrange your spending to protect your family or put towards your financial plan. I'm not asking you to spend money. I just don't want you to spend money on stupid stuff where you're wasting money. I want you to pay yourself first. which is going to be 90% of the time, they're going to waste a ton of money. We're also going to talk to them about financial independence. What does financial independence mean? Right? You might find out they don't like their career. They want to retire. They want to have a lot of money. They want to get out of debt. Power of compound interest. Okay. Now here we're talking about lots of things. The purpose of life insurance, how life insurance works, income protection, what happens if someone dies, two-income household, what happens if someone dies and they're left with all these bills, no paycheck, no money. We want to get them to say it. Then we're going to talk to them a little bit about their personal financial situation. Well, what would happen to you today? What would you want to have happen? And what would happen? If something were to happen to you, would you want your family standard of living? If you were to die today, would you want your family standard of living to be better, worse, or minimum stay the same? Well, if something actually did happen, would your family? Would they be better off financially? No. Why not? Or, if they feel somber about it, you say, that's exactly where we help people. Where people, if something happens to them, they want 100%. They want to make sure their family has at least the same standard of living or better. We ensure that that happens for families. I'm starting to get assumptive. You want your family standard of living to be better, but right now it wouldn't be. We can help you. That's me creating a need. That's me disturbing. Okay. Then we go through building a financial house. Obviously, we're going to stress the foundation, right? We're going to talk about the foundation. I'm going to go into that now once we go into the quadrant. Okay. We want to identify the 5 big mistakes. Number 1, not making life insurance a priority, treating it as a luxury. Right? Some people, it's like cell phone insurance. Yeah, no, it's fine, whatever. It's like, you buy a car, it's like, ding and scratch insurance. You know what? I'll let it ride. I buy a TV. Nah, you know what? I don't want the protection package. No, those are items that are nowhere near as important as your family. See, remember, most people think about life insurance, dollars and cents. We want them thinking about life insurance, your family, your wishes, your children, your kids, your spouse, everything that you've worked hard for, and not turning life upside down for your family if something, God forbid, did happen to you. And, it's the GoFundMes and all those things that you read. I read an insurance book a long time ago. These are people that sell whole life and stuff. And, they're getting $200-300 checks from people that cannot afford it, that should not be spending. And so their agents are trained really well. Now they're dishonest. They're punks. But they have good training. And they, one of the books, I remember I trained on this one time. They took their agents on a field trip to a funeral home, so people would understand the aftermath of when someone passes and the family and financially and what they have to go through. So when you're sitting down with that family or you're on Zoom, your job is to protect that family and not take excuses because, like Bill Arender said, no excuse is ever good enough for a widow. None. There's not one excuse that's ever good enough for children, ever. And we can't listen to that stuff. Now, we don't have to be confrontational. We have to be professional, but we have to get to the point of protecting them. So Not making life insurance a priority. Two, depending on group life. Okay, that's that silent killer, man. Group life. People love their group. I got 250 through work. I got 5 times my income at my job. You got one shot to unload on group. You got to go through the policy. You got to have them read it. You got to show the video. You got to get a strong commitment on group insurance. Buying cash value. Cash value is the biggest ripoff ever in insurance. All right. It's the worst product anyone can own. Buying term from a cash value company and then not having enough. Okay. Those are the 5 big mistakes that people have that I've encountered. They don't make life insurance a priority. So they just have this nonchalant attitude about life insurance. 2, they depend on group life. They think their company will take care of them. 3, buying cash value. 4, buying terrible term from a cash value company. Or not having our term, and then not having enough. If they have a policy, we want to create doubt and get the policy. Okay, if you get a policy, unless they are uninsurable, you should close that 100% of the time. You get screenshots or you get a physical policy, you get a policy actually emailed to you, you should close it 100% of the time. You should go over it with people in our office, your trainer, your RVP, your peers, and you should come up with a great proposal to replace that policy. All right, give me 1 second. My mom's called twice. All right, sorry about that. If they have a policy, you create doubt, you get the policy. If they have no coverage, we want to get all the commitments. Okay. I already went through, if they have group life, you get 1 shot unload, never, ever, 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 ever depend on your group. Stories, videos, use all of it. Cash value versus term, biggest ripoff ever. This is what separates us. We never sell cash value. Look, you got to get very passionate when people have cash value. You got to handle your business. You got to ask the right questions, but it's got to come out of you a little bit when you start talking about cash value, of how the active dislike you have with cash value. Would you want to do business with a company that does this to families? Term insurance, destroy terrible term. Renewal rate so high, it tempts people to go back to cash value. It's a ticking time bomb. And we are the one trick pony that, because we only do term insurance, we have the best term insurance in the industry, the highest quality term insurance. Then we're going to go into the theory. Okay. The theory, this is where it gets real for the client. This is where you make your money. This is where we're going to review their current financial situation. We're going to go through their assets, their debt, their income, their expenses. What would happen if you die? How long would the money last? How long you need the coverage? And we're going to go through a concept of self-insurance. We're going to eliminate your debt, build up your assets, and protect you in the meantime, because your needs change over time. We are going to get a dollar commitment question for each of them. Okay, we're going to get a dollar commitment question for each of them. That way they both understand why they both need coverage. You get a bigger dollar commitment. You get a commitment from each of them, and you get to find out if both of them are financially committed. How much could each of you commit to? How much could you commit for your protection? How much could you commit for your protection? Doesn't it make sense to use 2% of your income to protect 100%? That's a great conceptual question so they understand insurance. We're going to use some of your money to protect all of it. Then you go through your triplicate of choice and then your process close. And then overcoming objections, and someone can train on this tomorrow. You always want to know, I want to think about it. I want to research your company. We want to shop around. Everything's basically a variation of those 3 objections. We want to research your company. We need time to think about it. We want to shop around. The retirement process is, retirement questions, qualified plans, and the pecking order of retirement, and the magic of the Roth IRA. If you understand term insurance and the Roth IRA, you can help 90% of every client you sit down with. If you really understand, you believe, you're doing it yourself, you're fully funding your Roth IRA, if you qualify and you're eligible, you understand our business. That is the magic. Term insurance, Roth IRA, right there. But for the husband and the wife, recruit the sale, right? Then you may want to present the business. I always recruit the sale. I want to make them a client first. I want my trainee to know I'm there to make them a client first, and then I'm going to talk to them about the business, whether I invite them to a webinar or a live op meeting or an interview or a follow-up or send them the orientation. Hey, would you mind if I showed you how this business works? And then I'm going to go through it. You might have some interest. You also may know somebody. You may have interest and you may know somebody, and then I'm going to present it. And another tip, right? You're going to follow up every week till your policy is in force. And you're going to check, especially if you're a producer, you're going to check your life manager daily. Check your life manager daily, and you are going to follow up every week till that policy is issued. They've done their meds, they've done their APS, the policy's issued and enforced. You got to follow up once a week with all your pending clients, and you got to check every single day. All right. Let's see. I'm going to check the chat. So Jen said, just like the trainee has to ask for the kitchen table before the Zoom era, the trainee asks for the QA to be in a stationary spot. If when setting the QA, telling the will make it easy for them by doing this via Zoom. Are you familiar with how to use Zoom? If not, I'll have the trainee most times walk through it before the QA, so I know we're not taking 15 minutes to set it up, right? That's a good point, right? When we used to do appointments, if I take Jen on an appointment and it's Jen's, coworker and husband, I'm not going to ask the person to move to the kitchen table, right? Because it's rude for me to do that. The trainee knows them. The trainee has credibility. So I have to prepare Jen. Jen, you got to be insistent on moving to the kitchen table, or else we can't do the appointment in the living room sitting across from each other, right? It has to be at a table, preferably the kitchen table or the dining room table, so we have the right environment. But you got to say, hey, is it okay if we sit there? So same thing. If Jen sets it up on Zoom, Jen's got to say, hey, can you do it on a tablet? Can you do it where you're stationary? Because we're not going to be able to do it. You got to pay attention. You got to read, because it's much easier for her to have that expectation of the client than me.